that's what I like the most, like now we're in the local kitchen, having a guest passing by, saying thank you for the meal because they had a great night, eating, drinking. It's life, really. That's where I guess I come from. I had a lot of that in my life before, and that's really what's kind of addictive in a way.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. The hospitality industry is commonly known as a fairground for misfits, risk takers, those that don't necessarily feel like they fit in, but found a home on the pans, on the floor, connecting with like-minded creatives. What is it about the industry that is so appealing to so many? Francois Poulard is the executive chef of Manly Wharf Bar and the Tropic in Sydney. Francois, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to have you on the show. You're from France. Grew up in France. You're now in Australia, making quite an impact on the culinary landscape here. What was the lure for you to have a career in hospitality?
I don't know. It was a bit. It just happened. It was a bit random. I was a bit lost, not really knowing what I wanted to do, and I just randomly studied hospitality when I started to learn English in England, and then it just happened. I just went for it.
Take us back to when you were young, leading up to that sort of point in England. What sort of role did food play in your family in France?
Well, I'm from a family of foodies. Really, not my parents always been cooking, and my grandparents were on one side they were selling milk and all type of dairies, dairy, and on the other side they were butcher and having a farm. So I grew up in all that. It's very cliche for a French guy to say that, but my parents weren't in food or hospitality at all. But I mean, I guess everyone is in France is a little bit part of that industry somehow.
Do you have any stories of life on the farm or being involved with cheesemakers and things like that?
It was more the cheese. They weren't cheesemakers, but they were selling cheese. They were collecting the milk. So yeah, I was doing the tours with my granddad. I was on the market with them every Sunday. On the other side, I was probably too young to remember any of that. They passed away quite early, but I remember my mom talking a lot about it. I think, growing up like that, it's quite normal, I'd say. I come from, a very rural, I come from the countryside, so all my friends had something to do with this industry, really.
Tell us a bit about the food of the region that you grew up in. Are there any feasts that you can recall that you had when you were with your family?
Yeah, plenty. Well, I mean, Christmas, birthdays, you're ending one meal, and you're not even finished with dessert that you're already planning for the next one, So yeah, I do have plenty of that. I come from an area one of the very rare area where there is no wine. Come from Brittany, so from the northwest of France, where it's all about fish and cider and English weather, basically. And there is no wine there, but my dad is very much about wine. So we had a bit of a passion in the family for wine as well. I don't know where to start. We have so many memories, I think it was just a full-time job. It was more than a hobby. It was a sport, especially for my dad, actually. Yeah, it still is. It still is, actually. He was with us for a month. He just went back to France, and I need a little recover from that, a little diet.
You mentioned you went to the UK to learn English and study, but tell us about your first step into the industry. How did it happen?
So, well, I just finished high school and I didn't know what to study. I was planning to go to uni, to be honest, I was partying a lot and I just didn't know what to do. So I was like, well, while I'm not sure, let's just travel and go to England, at least to learn English, to do something, and to make my parents kind of a little bit happy. They weren't very happy with me at the time, to be honest. So I arrived there with my big ego, and I decided to lie on my resume and to to say that it can't be that hard to be a chef, you know. So I'm French, I can cook. They don't have any food in England, and yeah, obviously I got busted within 20 minutes. But the guy's been very, very nice and say, hey, look, you're obviously lying. You can't cook an egg, but if you want, you can do a kitchen in with us. And he made me pay the full price, but it was a great experience. And then yeah, like 6 months later, something like that, I just came back and started uni and still in like trying to make my parents happy. But I just realized I really liked working in a restaurant, even if it was just to, scrub dishes, and it was fine. I wanted more of that. So yeah, I told my parents that I don't want it to go to uni anymore. I don't want it to do long. Yeah, I just wanted to work and be a chef. And my dad told me, well, look, if you want to do it right. So start from the uh, like just do good restaurants. And so yeah, that's why he sent me to Paris, and I started the very late apprenticeship. But yeah, it was just I wasn't aiming to like a lot of chefs. It's like okay, I grew up in a foodie family, and I always knew that I want to be a chef, and I always cooked with my grandma and all that. For me, it wasn't like that at all. I was just super lost, and hospitality kind of brought me back to normality, like normal values, which is hard work and all that type of things. So yeah, it was lucky, I think.
Take us into those kitchens in Paris in those first couple of years of your apprenticeship. What did you take out of that time?
Um, I think discipline. Yeah, yeah, it was mostly discipline in the beginning. It wasn't really cooking. You're allowed in a Michelin star restaurant to peel carrots. That's a privilege. You're allowed to do it for 14 hours. It's great. And but I don't know, for whatever reason, I liked it. So yeah, I think it was mostly discipline. It was like I said, I was partying and I was pretty wild when I was like 18 or something like that, and it just brought me back, like just to you know get up on time, um, be polite, and yeah, work hard. Don't talk too much. Some kitchen you were not allowed to talk at all during service. It was pretty fun. Um, yeah, yeah, and then I think the real passion for cooking came when I went to Belgium. But the apprenticeship, it was mostly like put a suit to go to school and all that. Do things I haven't done much like before, really.
You worked in Michelin star restaurants in the UK and Switzerland and Belgium. Tell us about sort of the main influences. Do you have any stories of those restaurants that you worked in?
Yeah, I think the two main restaurants were both in Brussels. That's where I met my partner as well. It was like some great years. Um, the first one was called the Comme Chez Soi. It had like three Michelin star for 27 years, I think. And I arrived there just after they lost the third one after 27 years. And it was really like, like something really horrendous happened. Like someone died. It was crazy. People were in tears. So I arrived in that kind of in 2006, I believe. It was a weird environment, really. It was really weird. Um, and this was a very old fashioned, very old school three Michelin star where, like I said, you're lining up at the front door, you wait for the chef to open. If you are a tiny bit late and you arrive after the chef opens, you man of the week, which means you cook staff meal while the other people are eating. You have one tea towel a day, one apron a day, not allowed to talk. all the things that I hate now, to be honest with you. I really despise that so much now. But look, that was an experience. And then I moved. So I did just under 2 years over there. And then I moved to another two Michelin star, which was called the Chalet de la Forêt, which was the opposite, which was do whatever you want, just be ready, be prepared. And you prep, yeah, you prep for the whole day. You think you have a game plan. And like at 6 o'clock, the chef arrives with, you know, two boxes of chanterelles and say, hey, let's clean that. Let's sell that today. That's all we're going to sell. And then all your prep is useless because they're fresh and this is the first one of the season and he's super stoked, you know. It was still like super hard because you're like, well, you know, but two opposite school in the same city. I think that's where I learned the most of what I wanted to not only what I wanted to cook, but also the way I wanted to cook and what kind of team I wanted to part of. For me, the second one was definitely a lot more my jam, really.
What lured you to Australia?
My sister is married to a manly boy, so that's I've met my partner in Belgium. I traveled, and after Belgium, I became a bit of a private chef on a boat in the south of France. And then, yeah, she wanted to learn English. And I was like, look, it seems to be pretty easy for us. Even for visa reason and everything, it was kind of a no-brainer, you know, like being close to them. And yeah, that was just same again. Like in Belgium, the first Michelin restaurant that I applied, I just looked at the list on the Michelin, how many Michelin stars. It was 12, I think 12 restaurants at the time when I arrived there in Brussels. And I started to do a tour. Which one is the closest from my house? And I'm going to apply. I want a Michelin star. I want fine dining. But, you know, and when I arrived in Sydney with Chloe, she took just whatever job. She's a graphic designer. And she just wanted to learn. And we were here just for a year. And I did the same. And the first one near Manly was Pilou. And I applied there. And then I took the ferry. And the second one was Aria. And then I spent 5 years at Aria. Yeah, like sometimes, you know, you don't have to overthink things. So, yeah.
What did you think of the Australian sort of restaurant landscape compared to what you'd been used to in France and Belgium?
Well, look, first I learned a lot when I arrived in England, not to be too cocky and arrogant. So I was like, look, you thought that English couldn't cook an egg, and then, you know, you paid the hard price. So just learn about what's going on in Australia. And of course, I spoke to my peers and to a lot of people who traveled to Australia. I had some mates who were working at Key. I knew that it was a lot of great things going on here. Yeah, I really was all about fine dining. So before I arrived in Australia, I was just documenting myself about fine dining only, which is, I'm the opposite now. It's, yeah, I'm very different now. But yeah, I looked at whatever restaurant were here, what chefs were popular here. Yeah, that was one of the reasons. I think if the food, like the dining scene, wasn't that good here, we probably would have chosen to go somewhere else, to go to, I don't know, to America or I don't know where. So yeah, that was also one of the reasons why we chose to come here.
You spent a lot of time working at Aria under Matt Moran. Do you have any stories of what that experience was like for you?
For me, that's really what really changed my vision of food. Ben Turner, yeah, Aria was probably the strongest team that I've been working with. It was so many people working there at the time when I first arrived. I was just a chef de partie the first year, but it was like now there was Jason Stout, who is exec chef in Stoke House in Melbourne, with Ashley Smith, who was there as well. Ben Turner was the head chef for 14 years. He's probably one of the best chefs I've met, and definitely became over the years like my main mentor. I don't know, other people, Tom Haynes, who is now in Perth, who was head chef executive chef at Stockhair, at Chiswick as well. Um, Before me, we had like such a strong team. So many people. It was a bit old school, a bit too much testosterone in this kitchen as well to my taste. Wasn't enough girls, and it was a lot of competition. You know, how long it takes you to do 40 kilos of calamari? Bang! Oh, I took 2 hours yesterday. How long are you gonna take? It was a lot of that constantly, and long days, but great days, big volumes, very long service because being at RS pre-theater, so before the show. So service was starting at 5, I think, on Saturday, and then post-theater, so the last tables were sent at 11, so it was, like a 8-hour service, basically. There's not many restaurants doing that without a break, and we wanted more, and no, it was amazing. It was great years. I don't think I would cook that type of food again, but I learned so much, and yeah, it was great. It was amazing.
It was underneath Matt Moran that you got the opportunity to take on your first head chef role. Uh, Tell us about what impact that had on you and finding your own voice on the plate.
Um, well, I think like Matt, he tested me. They tested me a little bit at North Bondi Fish, um, and I just saw like it was kind of. I was for the first time. I was looking more at the growth, like at what can I become, because I've been doing that for a little while now, and what can I like just more looking at the title in the first place, which wasn't the right focus, to be honest, from me. And that's why they didn't probably gave it to me like right away, which was clever, I believe. So yeah, they tried that, and I saw, yeah, like completely different atmosphere, but in a very popular and successful restaurant. So yeah, Northern Fish was pumping. And then when Tom Haynes went to Brown Garrow House, I was kind of the next in line, and I was like, well, just give it to me now. But I wasn't really thinking about the food itself or the venue or the story that we're gonna tell, or what I mean. I was just like, now I want, I want to be in charge, which was silly. And then yeah, the first few months were quite challenging, and I had again the great support from Ben Turner and from Matt, who kind of made me understand like what was Chiswick. Um, I mean, not cooking food that pleases a chef's ego, but actually food that is comfort food that people want to eat, that people want to come back to. That what I mean. Sometimes you going to the restaurant, you don't really want to be overwhelmed by food. You just want to have a good time with your friends and family. They really made me understand that. Because I wasn't coming from that kind of uh, restaurants before. And then once I think I understood, I picked that up. Then I really could. I built a team that I was very, very, very proud of. But it took time, and they've been supportive. They knew that I was loyal. Um, I mean, I've been working for Matt for 8 years. And so that's why they've always been supportive. We had some, I mean, some hard times, but overall, um, I think that was a path that was kind of needed. This Northern Fish little year that was really needed for me. I couldn't see it at the time. I was almost upset. I was like, well, why? I'm just working so hard, putting all those hours for so many years. Why? And then I got it. But maybe a year after I started at Chiswick, yeah, I was like, yeah, they were so right. Yeah, but that's where they are now. That's why they're that successful, because they can see all that.
Tell us about your time at Chiswick as head chef and dish creation. Was there sort of contributions from Matt, or did you come up with ideas? How did it work when you were head chef?
In the beginning, you had a lot of Ben. Ben was Solotel's executive chef after being at Aria, so I had his guidance, and he's was always kind of um, just being nice and being really supportive. Matt was he's looking after a lot of restaurants, and he just comes in and he's a straight shooter. That's what I like about him. He was just like, okay, one dish after the other. We're having a tasting. We're just smashing all those dishes one after the other. He tries them, doesn't give it feedback straight away, and then we debrief. And then when it's good, he's gonna tell you that's an awesome dish. And when it's shit, he's gonna tell you as well when he thinks it's shit. He's a straight, but that's what I like. You need that. And it was also challenging, like really challenging me. Like sometimes, like, oh man, what do you think of that? What do you think of this? So, um, yeah, the years actually after the first year, that was the beginning. After the first year, they were really like trusting me, really, really happy with what I was doing over there, and they knew that I was like really, I was in love with the venue. Like Chiswick is one of my favorite restaurants. It's such a beautiful venue. I love everything about this venue. Like, so I think I just kind of really fitted the restaurant after a while. But once again, I admit that I needed their guidance in the beginning for sure.
At Chiswick, what did you learn about running a team?
Uh, I think about running a team, I learned more at Aria. I think I always had that, like um, I don't know. I'd like to think that that the team at Chiswick always liked me, and he was kind of, the sous chef to be sometimes the bad cop. But I've done that bad cop job for many years at Aria. I was doing it happily. No problems. Like, hey, just Frankie, just go there. Like, look at this prep. What the fuck is that? Um, so yeah, it wasn't really at Chiswick that I learned how to lead a team because I always kind of uh, had great leaders above me, and I always wanted to be part of that kind of managing, leading team, trying to inspire people. So the team always had my back at Chiswick. Um, I left. I think that's one of the thing I'm the most proud of when I left Chiswick. Is just like I think I left a very strong team. Um, they were really so nice. Um, they organized an unbelievable farewell. They're all very skilled. They had a massive growth. Um, um, that's one of my. I think that's one of my strengths more than cooking itself. Really, it's more like I think in this industry, and I think with COVID we realize this even more. This industry is all about the people, from suppliers to coworkers to the guest, of course. So I always had that. Um, Not like it sounds very, how can I say? I always understood the fact like how important it is, and I always worked on that. So even if I wasn't in charge at Aria or at Northern Fish and all that, I was really really like learning and understanding that, getting that it's crucial in this industry. So when I arrived at Chiswick, I just had to get it done. Really, that was that.
Given the team that you built at Chiswick and the level that you got it to as head chef, was it difficult for you to leave to take on the next role?
Um, yes and no. It was very hard to leave the team. It was very hard to leave the venue because I was just really loving it. It was Laura Barato who is working for Matt as well. We had an amazing relationship. I almost forgot to mention her from the Aria team. That would be rude because she was also from Aria. So we all like that group of people. Anyway, so yeah, all that was really hard. It was yeah, it wasn't easy, but I also felt that the whole group, like the Solotel kind of, it's a bit, it's corporate, and I felt like I learned so much from them. So I'm very grateful, but it was also time for me to do my own thing. So I was looking to actually start my own business, like I not really actively looking, but thinking about it, and then the opportunity in Manly came up, and that's something I couldn't say no to. Everything. It was just the perfect timing. I've been living in Manly the whole time, and my family is here on this side of the bridge. And my girlfriend was just pregnant when that happened, so it was just like, oh, yeah, it was just like, okay, well, closer from home, new challenge in a smaller environment, like where now they just, I changed the menu. I do like I'm really, I think more free, um, in a way, and yeah, it's my own mistakes. Um, I needed that approach. I think the whole group vision, like, you know what I mean? This whole, yeah, corporate thing was, I was just done with it. I, I learned a lot, from a business perspective, but it was also for me time to move on, I think. Yeah.
Well, tell us a bit about Manly Wharf Bar. You're also looking after the Tropic as well, a sort of seafood focused Mediterranean restaurant. Tell us a bit about the offerings and what you're creating at those venues.
So the Wharf Bar is owned by Ben May, and he's a proper hospo foodie person, and he's also another straight shooter who knows what he wants. So when we first spoke, he was just like, okay, we want something Mediterranean, something easy, something where basically people look at the menu and they know what they want. They read the menu, they know what it is. There is no long names. It's a burrata, it's a wood fire bread, it's an anchovy. It's, you know, good ingredients done simply. And his message from the Tropic was like, well, look, people may not come for the food in the first place because he's in one of the best spots in Sydney. Like, it's stunning, but the food might be the reason why they come back, you know, and that's your challenge. And I was like, that's music to my ears, you know, because I have so many memories in this place, in this venue, and that's exactly what I was describing earlier, which is, you know, there's no ego food, no chef's dishes, you know what I mean? Something that, oh, you know, like a chef would say, oh, that's cool because they recognize the technique or the way or whatever the way it's done. It's more, let's cook some food that people want to eat. People want to, you know, share with their family, with their mates, by the water, you know. That's more like the opposite of fine dining, I guess. Um, and that's really like the challenge that I wanted to yeah, to embrace, kind of thing.
You mentioned that your parents originally wanted you to go to university and you've built this career in hospitality. What do they think about what you've achieved?
Uh, well, in the beginning, my dad was like, "Why are you doing this? Why do you want to be a chef? What, like, you're gonna work every weekend, every holidays? Like, it's just gonna be, yeah. Why would you?" And when they see where I'm at now, I think they're happy. Like, my dad was here, yeah, for a month for the birth of my first child. He sees that quite, like, we're okay here. We're having a great life. I'm in charge of a pretty big venue, well, food wise. I don't know. I'd like to think they're proud, but yeah, not my, not, I made them suffer for many years, you know. I wasn't very nice. You probably understood that. So, look, if they're happy and proud of me and say, "Oh, well, look, it wasn't all bad," and he made his own choices, but at the end, you know, yeah, I'd like to think they're okay with that. They're happy.
What do you love about what you do?
Honestly, it's still the team. I just like, that's why I'm not done. I don't want to go in another industry, you know. I'm not bored of like a long service and a big sweaty high five scrubbing the stove at the end. I'm not, you know, I still love it. I still like that. It might not be forever, but that's what I like the most, you know. Like, now we're in an open kitchen, having a guest passing by, a bit tipsy, and saying thank you for the meal because they had a great night. You know, eating, drinking. You know, that's life, really. That's where I guess I come from. I had a lot of that in my life before, and yeah, that's really what's kind of addictive in a way. Um, yeah, I think just the people, you know, in an industry where you can really see instantly how people feel. That's quite unique, I guess. Well, I don't know. At least it's intense as well. You have the adrenaline. You have all those kind of feelings that makes you really.
The last couple of years have been quite turbulent for just about everyone on the planet, but you've started a new career and just started a young family as well. What's the period of time been like for you and the positives to come from it?
To be honest, I've been one of the lucky ones. A lot of people really struggled. I'm very thankful. At Chiswick, we had a tiny bit of time where we've been stood down and all that, and Matt brought us back quite quickly, and we started to take away. We've been we've been nailing it. My partner always had a job. She worked from home. In the first place, I had some family who got stuck here. They were visiting from overseas, so we got some time to spend a bit more time together. And then we reopened, and then Chiswick being kind of an institution, we got busy again quite quickly. We weren't in the city, some of my mates, they were head chef in the city. The city was dead, and, for us, it wasn't the case. And then I had this opportunity at the Wharf. To be honest, for the last 2 years, when I see how bad it's been for a lot of people, I really cannot complain. I've been definitely part of the lucky ones, for sure.
What's next for you? You've got these two amazing venues that you're looking after. How does the rest of the year look for you?
Well, the Tropic is kind of, it's half of it used to be the Wharf Bar. It's half of the old Many Wharf Hotel. So I think the focus is to get this venue really killing it. I think we got everything to do so. We had a very challenging start, like everyone else, with staffing and all that. And then I really think we're in the right track. So we're all aiming to like September, October, and next summer to be really, really successful. Mainly in winter is a bit quiet. But we are growing, can see changes, a lot of good changes and new faces in the business. I'm really, really optimistic. I'm not too worried about that. It's just about, having fun, like I said, just keeping doing what we're doing and take feedbacks, learn from them, good or bad, that's it. Honestly, I'm very, very. I've been spoiled with this venue. Ben May trusted me from the very first day, which is not every boss is like that. But I think he just kind of gave me the keys. Like, okay, make that a winner, And I was like, yeah, sure. Okay, let's do it. It's such a beautiful venue. We got everything. We got the people, we got the venue. That's the two main things. We just got to do it now. So just work hard and have a few of those services that I was describing earlier, and we'll be all right.
Well, Francois, it's amazing to catch up with you and hear of your success. Please keep in touch, and we'll catch up again soon.
Great. All right. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.